The management of Bombay Dyeing now joins us, and the case for chat here is that they're planning to revive their retail business. They are looking at a turnaround in 2017 and 18, and there are new expansions and new launches in the pipeline. Also, along with that, there could be new tie-up with the digital portals. Nagesh Rajanna, Chief Executive Officer, Retail Business for Bombay Dyeing, joins us live in our Mumbai studio. Nagesh, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Before I get into Bombay Dyeing specific, what your plans to relaunch and reboot are, I want to understand that what's going on in that entire home textile market. The heat of demonetization, do you think it was felt initially and now it has normalized?
Oh, yeah. First of all, thanks for having me here. Demonetization did impact us in the month of November. Having said that, we clearly see a bounce back in December, though it's premature for me to actually talk about whether it is a clear bounce back and it's going to sustain in the coming months. But I think the next 45 days, the festive momentum should actually indicate in clear whether this bounce back of December is going to sustain in the coming months as well.
Now, when you say you're looking at rebooting Bombay Dyeing, I'm just trying to understand what are thoughts behind rebooting here, because the Bombay Dyeing I know was a good old manufacturing company with some uniqueness in the home textile market. Now, as a consumer, this is just my perception, as a consumer, I get a sense that Bombay Dyeing exists, but it's not like a crucial wannabe place to be.
Well, to begin with, Bombay Dyeing is actually not rebooting, but it's reinventing in itself. Okay, and we are reinventing the traditional textile business. Primarily as part of our strategy, Vision 2020, there are two significant changes Bombay Dyeing Retail has been going through. We have been known as a manufacturer for more than 137 years. The big call which we have taken is we are no longer a manufacturer, we have turned a retailer by outsourcing our entire product portfolio. The second change we are going through is, while we have millions of traditional loyal customers nurtured over the last 100 odd years, we don't want to live in the past laurels, but also want to be seen as an ever-evolving brand by appealing to the youth of today, the millennials of today. These are the two big strategic shifts which we have been working on over the next 4 years.
So what's the, Nagesh, good morning, of course, Neeraj here. What's the differentiator then? Because all I'm trying to say is I see every other company which is in this, for the lack of a better term, in this space, trying to do pretty much the same thing, right? They are trying to make products cater to the youth or cater to all across the genre as well. And as strong a brand name as Bombay Dyeing is, the others are not too weak either.
Well, I think the change which you get to see in Bombay Dyeing Retail are primarily on account of four specific strategic pillars of ours. One is, when I say we are going asset light, what it also means is it will enable us to invest in customer facing initiatives. It will enable us to invest in the marketplace rather than in the back end of the business. Okay, that's one significant shift which we have made. The second is, while Bombay Dyeing is a household brand, but this brand has to look new, it has to look dynamic, it has to appeal to the youth, it has to appeal to the millennials. So coming from the background, there's a commitment of 100 crore plus in the new refreshed brand look, a brand which communicates with the youth, a brand which engages the millennials. The third shift which Bombay Dyeing Retail has been going through is in restructuring the entire organization. Unlike in the past when we were a manufacturer, the skill sets and the competences required within the organization was different to when we actually attempt to be a retailer. So coming from the background, we have not only restructured, we have been hiring people coming from FMCG, retail and other services background, and also scaling up our organization capability in the marketplace.
Okay.
The fourth shift which we've been going through to make our Vision 2020 a reality is scaling up our distribution infrastructure. As part of the distribution infrastructure, we are going live with our own e-com portal by the end of this fiscal. As part of our joint business plans with various marketplaces, we are leveraging their strengths to drive the volumes and reach online.
Of course.
We are also launching our new franchise model, which will enable us to reach out with exclusive stores across 500 1 lakh plus population towns in India.
Right. Okay. So So in which case, with all of these strategies coming to the hilt, what are the kind of numbers that you're looking at? I mean, what is it that you work with right now, and what's, say, a vision 2018? Where do you see yourself March 2018 or December 2018 in terms of numbers? Broad brush ballpark estimates, if you will.
See, as part of Vision 2020, we want to be 1,000 crore retailer, and with a primary focus of bed and bath. That aside, I think I would also like to share, while last financial year the retail segment lost money, the coming financial year 2017 and 18, we are targeting to be cash positive as far as the retail business is concerned. By 2018 and 19, we would like to be profitable on a net profit basis.
That's good to hear, Nagesh. Just to stretch that point forward that you were making, while your portal is going to be up and ready by the end of the fiscal perhaps, tell me a little bit more about how many multi-brand outlets, how many franchise store additions are you looking at in the next year to come? What are the new product categories that you're also looking at, launching and then advertising?
We today operate with 200 franchise stores across the country. Over the next 4 years, we are targeting 500 franchise stores with an average investment of 50 lakhs of rupees in each of these stores. That aside, we today redistribute through 5,000 traditional multi-brand textile outlets. We are targeting to scale that up to 10,000 over the next 4 years. So what this basically means for us is invariably we will be reaching out to the large chunk of the urban customers across India.
We understand that you were looking at a stake sale for the retail business as well. Is that correct?
Well, I can't speak on the speculation.
Well, you can deny the speculation, let me put it this way.
Well, I don't think there is any such discussion at this point of time.
The Indian home textile market is becoming very competitive. I mean, earlier there were only 3 or 4 large players. Now there is online. There are companies like Wellspun, Indocon, which are also trying to take a piece of the retail pie. So you're looking at expanding in a market which is not competitive, but I would say it is hyper competitive, and then there's a discount war or a price war there.
Yeah, when you speak about home textile market, we have to appreciate 2 things. First of all, it's a large, segment. The second is, the branded, product penetration within the segment is extremely low at this point of time. So the opportunity for any player like us is it's just not about actually expanding the industry in itself, but to grow the branded segment in that large existing pie, already there. So where Bombay Dyeing is actually positioning itself, given our premiumness, given our large customer following, is to grow the brand penetration within the existing segment.
But now Bombay Dyeing has some legacy issues, and the legacy issue is that they have a lot of debt. You're committing to a capex, and the number you shared with us is about 100 crore. How are you planning to fund it? Are you looking at monetizing some real estate? Do you think your cash flows are going to be strong enough in order to fund this venture?
And I think you recently sold some land and building as well. So will that be enough? And that's just the part 2 of this question.
Okay, let me address one by one. To begin with, I think the land sale which we have done, is enabling us to go capex light. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, the investment on the brand, invest in the marketplace, is not capex led, it's opex led. So the third aspect of your question is this going to be internally accrued or externally sourced? The answer is it's going to be completely internally accrued.
Since Bombay Dyeing is a location which is right outside our office, many may not use the word Bombay Dyeing, but every time I cab it up, I always say Bombay Dyeing ke bagal mein jana hai. So, but that parcel of land is very, very valuable.
Yeah.
There are other parcel of lands which Bombay Dyeing is sitting on. Are there any plans on the table right now in this kind of a market to monetize some land bank? You've been monetizing land bank, I know that, but what is the progress on that?
See, since I represent only the retail business, I would reserve to hold back my comments on anything beyond the retail business. Sorry.
What are retail sales which you've declared as per your last quarterly filing? I'm not getting into the last quarter, which is December and October, November, December quarter, but for Q2, what were exact retail sales?
See, last financial year we sold 306 crore.
That's only the home textile business.
I'm only referring to the retail business, the
Okay.
home textile retail
Okay.
business. Okay, and that's the segment which I look after, and that's
Okay.
the segment which we've been talking about. From now to the next 4 years, we are targeting to grow at a 30% CAGR.
So it could be a 1,000 crore business.
That's right.
And what could be the growth of the entire home textile sector in India?
Though in the absence of any research, one can't actually validate the numbers, but however, we believe with our experience it's growing, upwards of 8 to 9%. And it intends to grow at, we see it growing at the same pace.
Okay, so well, the industry may grow at a just about GDP or slightly higher than GDP pace.
Yeah.
So Bombay Dyeing would grow better. I have one last question. I think after your decision to over a decade ago, or Bombay Dyeing's decision, let me put it that way, to exit the textile manufacturing business, and I think you mentioned that you've outsourced it, but there are some reports which suggest that Bombay Dyeing as a company might re-enter textile manufacturing. Now, is that true, and will that happen under your aegis, or will it back-end supply to you? Is there any can you comment on that?
Well, again, I wouldn't like to
Okay.
comment on the speculation, but however, what I would like to reiterate that, we are no longer a manufacturer. We would like to be a retailer, and that's our thrust area.
Okay, no, I mean, I appreciate that because I know you are in the retail space. I just thought this would be, if it was true, then it would tie in terms of being a supplier to you naturally, so which is why I thought I'll chance that question as well. So great, good chatting with you. Good to know the vision that Bombay Dyeing Retail has, and hopefully you do much better than that. Then thanks so much for joining us and
Thank you
giving
so
us that
much.
perspective. We look forward to come and shop at the Worli store, if that's an existing store.
Well,
It is, right?
I'll be more than happy to host all of you. Please come over. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me here.
No, lovely having you, and lovely knowing your strategy. You don't hear Bombay Dyeing that often. In fact, this is the first time that I am interviewing the CEO of the retail business of Bombay Dyeing. So it's a special interview, and you just heard what the management had to say. The plans are big. Hopefully they'll be better than what the management is targeting right now. I think we can take a break though, having done a discussion for the last 1.5 hours. Take a quick break. Come back a bit later on in the show. Some very important market voices, including Kartik Capital as well as